He's been very patient. Appreciate his patience very much. Benson Henderson is waiting for us on line number 1. Benson, are you there?
I'm here. What's up, buddy?
I apologize for the delay. Mirko had a lot he wanted to get off his chest.
No worries. No need to apologize. I'm going after a legend in Mirko Krokop. I'm a patient man. Patience is a virtue. So when waiting for a guy like that, you can take your time.
Thank you. It's kind of fascinating to hear him speak about the end of the road and not wanting to embarrass himself, especially when you consider how you've dealt with your career and saying at a certain age, I want to stop and things. I don't know about you, but as a fight fan, I found that to be just the way his mind was working. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I've been lucky enough to talk to him a few times. We've talked to him and I about, coming towards the end of a career and extending your career longer and making sure you do the right thing to take care of your body. And Mirko was very correct when he talks about, with the science of sport, with the science of athletes for longer periods of times, we're learning how to take care of our bodies into longer periods. People are living longer. People are learning to eat healthier, and all the little tiny small things that you can do to take care of your body, knowing to take care of your body from a younger age. Don't wait until you're 35 and then start taking your body, but taking care of your body when you're 23, 24, 25, knowing that you might, if you do it correctly, you could have a nice, long, good career into your 40s or so. Knowing all that, keeping everything in perspective. Mirko is a super intelligent individual. The reason why he held a seat on his national government, he's very aware and knows what he's talking about. Sometimes I think we, obviously speaking English, sometimes some things are lost in translation, or we don't realize how smart an individual is. Yeah. But he's a super smart individual. If you talk to him in his native language, he can go on in even more super detailed depth, but his English is good enough, more than good enough, that he can explain himself in English also. But sometimes you don't really fully understand how smart the dude is.
Okay, so let's talk about you. You return August 26th. You're fighting Patricio Pitbull, who's typically a 145er. This is happening at 155. It has been said that a title shot, I guess, could be at stake here. Were you surprised when you were told that it was Patricio Pitbull, who's typically a 145er, former challenger there, that he would be your next opponent and not one of the usual suspects at 155?
I was a little bit surprised, but then when I heard their reasoning, they said I could fight Chandler or Thompson next. I said, of course, Chandler always want to fight for the belt, so Chandler has a belt. Let's go get after him. Actually, this was right when Chandler was scheduled to fight. For the open belt, and they're afterwards drafting one. Okay, well, he's the guy. You want to fight him next. But then he had a broken hand from his fight, so he's going to take a little while. He's going to be out. Thompson has concussion problems, concussion symptoms from one of his training partners. And you guys know me. I want to fight. I want to stay busy. I want to stay active. I want to stay after it. You can fight, or you can wait till Chandler gets better and heals his hand. I was like, come on, man. You know the question. You know the answer to that question. I want to fight. Put me in there. Give me somebody. We'll find somebody. Do something, guys. I want to stay busy. I want to stay active. And so they took out Patricio's name. I think he had a little bit of reluctance saying yes to the fight, but eventually, he said yes, and I agreed to it. And there you go, my next opponent. They're billing it as a super fight. A lot of times you wish guys could fight from this weight class or that weight class or this organization. So, you get a former, 45. Myself, a former 155-pound champion, and you're gonna see two guys throw down who have a lot left to prove. Both of us feel we have a lot left to prove, a lot left in our tanks, and you're gonna see it. August 26th.
So this is my first time talking to you since your debut back in April, and so I'm wondering, in hindsight, obviously it didn't go your way. Was that all Koreshkov, or did the new cage, new surrounding, just the experience, was it all a little too much? Did you put too much on your plate, moving up, fighting for the belt in your debut, the hoopla surrounding your signing, the media, all that stuff, new cage, new surrounding, new organization? Was it all just a little too much in hindsight?
I think for sure you could say that there was a lot like played into the factor. I don't make excuses. I lost. I got my butt kicked. Andre threw me a whooping. I'm man enough to accept it, to take it, and to move on, and get better from it, grow from it. But yeah, he whooped my butt. But I wouldn't say it was just any excuses of this happened and that happened and this happened, and like the Bellator cage jitters, first time in a new organization, this and that, or whatever, whatever the case may be. On top of all that, Korshaw was really good. He had a great game plan. He executed it very well. Just plain kicked my butt. So you got to get your hats off to him. He did a great job. All of that being said, when I fight him again tomorrow, 5 rounds, absolutely, you better believe it. No problem. No hesitation on my part. I felt he was a better man that night, and he definitely did what he needed to do to his hand raise. But could I beat him, tomorrow, tonight, 5 rounds? For sure. No problem. Let's do it. But that's not the route. For me, it's going to be 155 and getting a belt at that weight class.
Are you done with 170 for now?
I would not say done. I think there are some really actually super intriguing matchups at 170.
Okay.
Some of the VPs of Bellator are throwing some names out there. I'm sure you can think of some names yourself who they might be throwing around. I was like, that's really interesting. I would be okay with that fight. Not for a belt. But some interesting matchups, and that's the reason why they signed me. They signed me. Bellator signed me. They're paying me a whole lot of money because I have a good name and I put on exciting fights, and I'm open to going 170, 155, wherever the most interesting fight is. Give the fans a great showcase. That's what they signed me for. They signed me for big fights. I got to deliver on my end. Considering
you had been with Zuffa for so long, what was it like just going through a new system, new employees, new people, new staff? When you left, you made a point to thank all the behind-the-scenes staff, which was a very classy move. Now, all these new faces, I would imagine it kind of felt like the first day at school when you were, a youngster.
Oh, for sure.
Was it weird?
Yeah, for sure.
How would you describe it?
Definitely weird. Definitely different. I tried not to. I wanted to, give everybody their due time and not just say, "Oh man, that's wrong. You're not supposed to do things that way. You're not supposed to do, A then B then C. You're supposed to do C then B then A." I wanted to give it time and see how they operate, behind the scenes, and it's just super different. It is a lot different than the way Zuffa does things. Not bad or good or worse or anything, just different. And I just, my first time, being main event in Bellator, seeing how they do this, how they do that, I was like, oh, that's different. I didn't know you guys did that. Oh, that's weird. That's different. My second time for sure, having that experience, knowing what to expect, knowing what day to show up on and who's there, and knowing the names and all that stuff, I think for sure I'll be a lot more comfortable going into this second Bellator fight.
How about the circle cage as opposed to the 8-sided octagon? Did that mess you up at all?
I'm going to have to say circle cage, 8-sided octagon, no difference.
Okay.
Yeah, cage around you, there's cage around you. I was running quite a bit in the last one against Andre, so no, not a whole lot of big difference.
Would you say that was the most frustrating night of your athletic career?
No, for sure. The most frustrating night of my athletic career was my junior year in college. Freshman at Dana College, I couldn't make it to the national finals. I lost because I looked at the freaking clock.
Oh.
7 seconds left. And I got inside leg trip by a kid named Jake Diffenbach. Oh, I was so mad. I went backstage and I tore apart one of the rooms, tore down the TV from the mount, smashed a mirror. Like, very out of character for myself. I'm more composed now. I'm older and stuff. But I was very upset that night. But for sure, like, Andre beat me up. I was sad about that. I wasn't happy. But, butt whooping, you got to learn from it. You got to grow from it. Sadly, at this point in my career, I've had a few tough losses I didn't necessarily agree with. But, judges gave to this guy, or this guy got his hand raised, whatever. It happens, So I'm okay with taking losses and taking on the chin and manning up and moving forward. That's no problem. In life, you need to have that quality. You have to be able to do that. If you lose and then, you're undefeated champion, and you're the best ever and you're the greatest, and you end up getting rear naked choked, and then you lose and you fold and you lose 3 more in a row. That's not good, and you don't want to do that. You got to prove your championship medal. You got to prove your character, who you are deep down, and bounce back. You can't have 3 losses in a row. That's not good. You can't lose to some girl and then that's the end of your career, and you fade away from MMA and you never fight again. And you never do this, yada yada. No, prove you're champion. Fall 7 times, get up 8.
Is it fair? I remember talking to you in studio before the fight, and you said you didn't know much about Koreshkov. And I know the way you handle your career and the way you handle, the upcoming fights. But is it fair to say that you were, I don't know what's the best word, like, and I hope you don't take this in a negative way, like a bit arrogant, like thinking like, oh, I'm the UFC guy, I'm going to smoke this guy, he's not on my level. Like, did you take him lightly?
Andre?
Yeah.
No, for sure not. I don't take any of my opponents lightly.
Okay.
I don't care who I face off against. I could be doing a local Arizona State tournament, Joe, just some guy, Joe, down the street who, works a 40-hour work week in the jiu-jitsu tournament. I'm not taking him lightly. That's not who I am as a person. It's not how I compete. I know for me, whoever I compete against, especially on that high of a stage, doesn't matter who I go against. They are going to bring their best. And they're going to try and beat me up bad. Andre, I knew he was tough. I knew he was good. I didn't know much about him, but that was ignorance more than being arrogant. I was not aware of him. I did not know how good he was. But I take everybody. It doesn't matter who I compete against. I was at freaking where was that? Not the local YMCA. It's like an aquatic center, but the local YMCA down the street the other day, playing pickup basketball with some kids. And I took those kids very seriously too. They were surprised by my veracity a little bit.
Did they whoop you?
They got their hands raised at the end of the game.
Wow.
But I would say it was more because of my basketball's a team sport. You still have the teammates. It's hard. You can't do it all yourself.
That's right.
And those kids are freaking the high school all-stars, and they were throwing down dunks and stuff. I was like, oh, you tall bastards.
Did they know who you were?
Yeah, they knew who I was. They, a lot of respect. The kids are super nice. High school kids, they're cool. Took pictures with me after and whatnot. Yeah, but they knew who I was.
That is hilarious. I wish I had footage of that. And thus, once again, confirming my suspicions that you ain't got game.
Oh, I wouldn't say that. I'd say that you still wouldn't want to see me in the court, Ariel.
Okay.
No offense, but I know your game now. I'm wise to how you are. Talk a big game and start. Oh yeah, we're gonna play basketball. And I go to your city. I was in your city with basketball shoes, and like, oh wait, no, but my league doesn't have room, and
they said no.
And my friend showed up, and I understand, man. I understand.
Fair enough. You don't believe me? I tried. I really did. I made an honest effort, but one day will happen. I'm looking at our poster right now, our poster of our match. You dunking on me, it's a little weird, but it will happen.
We're gonna do it. We're gonna do it. It's gonna happen.
That match on Spike TV would outdraw any Bellator show this year. You know that, right?
You think so? Maybe.
No,
maybe.
Did you feel at all like was there any part of you that was like, man, I let them down. They invested a lot of me. They paid a lot for me. I was the big free agent catch, and I came up short. Did you feel that at all?
A little bit, I suppose. I think it's like I would use the analogy of like a NFL star after his rookie contract. He got the big payday and went to his new team, then has a bad first year. Like, oh, I'm better than that, guys. I'm sorry. Like, I had a bad year. For me, it's one fight, but I had a bad fight. But I'm better than that, guys. I'll prove myself. Just don't give hope on me just yet, guys. Come on. So I got you. I would use that analogy. I used it a couple times before. Being a big free agent signing, coming over, trying to make a big splash, didn't quite go my way. But I'm a true veteran in the sport. I've been through quite a bit of ups and downs, and I know what it takes to bounce back and to not let it truly faze me, not let it crumble your spirit or crumble the belief that you have in yourself. I still know that I'm the best 155 pounder on the planet, and on the right night, me performing at 100% versus any other 70-pounder performing at 100%, I think I get my hand raised. But if I perform at like 95% and they perform at 100%, then I'll probably lose to some of the 70-pounders out there. But at 185, I'm the amount of planet who can touch me. At 170, I have to be firing on all cylinders. That night against Andre, I was not firing on all cylinders, and Andre threw me a whooping.
The next big free agent is Rory McDonald, also fights at 170. Scott Coker has said there's interest in him. Are you going to do any recruiting like we see in the other sports? Are you going to try to get Rory to sign with Bellator? Have you reached out? Has he reached out to you? Anything to report on that front?
I have not had any talks with Rory or any of Rory's people.
Okay.
He has not reached out to me. I haven't reached out to him. I think he has to do what's best for him. He has to do what's best for his family. You have to take stock. You have to truly look at the numbers, break it down. And he's a smart kid. He'll do what's best for him. Hopefully he does what's best for him, and whether it's staying with the UFC, coming over to Bellator. Right now as a free agent, the world is oyster. He needs to enjoy this and take advantage of this small opportunity that we're afforded to do what's best for him and his family.
Are you happy with your decision to sign with Bellator?
Oh yeah, for sure. There's no look at some of the past 55-pound champions from the UFC, from Zuffa. Look how much they're getting.
Yeah.
Compared to look how much I'm getting.
Right.
I am not complaining, man.
You had mentioned that the Reebok deal was a major reason why you decided to leave. Can you compare for us what you made in your last UFC fight from Reebok and what you made in terms of sponsorship for your Bellator debut?
Yeah, for my last Bellator fight, I had one sponsor, and in that one sponsor, just one, it was just shy of what I made for the Reebok sponsorship. But I am aware, I do know that it's going to take a while to build up those sponsors again. Sponsors in the UFC was at one point a very high dollar amount. You got paid quite a bit of money. After the Reebok thing took over and all the companies kind of heard about that, the value went down a lot. And I know fighting with Bellator, the value is not going to be exactly what it was at its peak in the UFC. I have to build back up to that. And I'm a patient man, and I know my worth. I'm not going to sell myself short. If the Ritz-Carlton has 100 rooms, and then 75 of the rooms are empty, do they rent out their rooms for any cheaper? Do they rent out the rooms for only $100 instead of the $700, $800 range that they normally rent out the room for one night? No, they know what the value of the room is. They know what their worth is, so they hold to their worth of $700, $800 a night. I'm not going to sell myself short. I know my value is. I know my worth is. It is going to be harder to find some sponsors to be back at that point, but I'm not going to sell myself short. I can't do that.
Why did you just have one sponsor? Was it tough to get people on board?
Tough to get people on board a little bit. Like I said, with the sponsorships, you have to build yourself back up to that range.
Uh-huh.
So once sponsors start seeing some of the TV numbers, the viewerships, how many eyeballs will be on their product, you have to. For me as a fighter, it took me a while to learn all this. And you always have managers trying to explain to you, agents trying to explain to you. You always have the sponsors themselves trying to explain to you, hey man, we want to give you this money, but we don't know the ROI, the return on our investment. We don't know if I give you this much money, or am I going to make this much money back? There's no way to really truly judge that, to weigh that. So some sponsors are still wary of dropping the same amount of money they were dropping before. And that's my job, to prove to them that I am worth it. No, I understand you guys are hesitant about, sponsoring an athlete for this much money. But when you see the numbers, when you see freaking, Spike TV pulling 1.1 mil peak rating, there was a playoff game that night. So if not for the playoff game that went to overtime, I think it was the Thunder versus Steph Curry's team, the Warriors.
The Warriors, yeah.
So so that game definitely hit my target audience, males 18 to whatever the age is. So that kind of hurt us on the viewership. But when companies start seeing viewership, they start seeing the Nielsen ratings being at 1.1, 1.2, 1.5, then they start to change their mind a little bit. So it's my job to prove that I am worth it. I am worth this number. I am worth that number. But it's a process. It's not going to be easy. But I never was looking for the easy way out either.
Recently, you publicly supported Mark Hunt, and I'm wondering, and you've said that you would be in support of a union. Do you feel like because you are a part of Bellator, you might get left out of that? Meaning, if there is a union, there's a good chance because the structure of Bellator and the UFC is different, that it would be just sort of a UFC association of sorts and not a Bellator one. And will that bother you that you can't be a part of that? Or am I wrong? And do you think it will be more of a inclusive one as opposed to exclusive one?
I am not as up on all of the information.
Okay.
I have talked to Mark Hunt's people.
Oh.
I've talked to Kung Lee and John Fitch's people. Both want the same idea, the same thing, Fighters Union, Fighters Association. Looking at different models to follow through with, whether it's the tennis model or the international football model, soccer model, whether it's the basketball model, of which, we are individual sport, so we can't exactly follow the NFL model, we can't exactly follow the NBA model. And so, because we are an individual sport, it won't necessarily be just a UFC Fighters Association. It won't be just a Bellator Fighters Association. It will be a Fighters Association, a Fighters Union of all fighters everywhere. And then say you're not quite to the UFC level, it's going to have to start small. Like everything, you have to start grassroots, build your way up, establish good, solid fundamentals, and build your your fighters. So you're going to have to start smaller, like small, low key. You have a few big name fighters, but then start smaller out and have all the local shows. So the smaller local shows, they're all going to have to be whatever certified by the MMA FA, the MMA Fighters Association, or whatever the name ends up being. They have to be certified by them. Otherwise, you can't get all the fighters who have the MMA FA cards. They won't fight for you. They can't fight for you. They refuse to fight for you because you're not certified by the MMA FA. You're not doing it. So being a part of that, it means you have to give up certain things. You have to establish certain things. You have to do certain things for the fighters. You have to give a certain percentage goes to the fighters. If the live gate is $10,000, you have to promise to give at least maybe 30% or 40% or 50%, whatever the percentage is, goes towards the fighters. And then the fighters will have our own lawyers and our own this and our own that to make sure that we get the proper percentage, and then that percentage goes towards the fighters, and then they're paid, wherever their rate is, and on top of that, there's a whole lot to it. But no, it will not be just a UFC Fighters Association or a Bellator Fighters Association. I'm from what I'm told from Mark Hunt's people, from Kung Lee and John Fitch's people, we're looking at one association, one fighters union. Anybody trying to separate the fighters, they're doing it for a reason. They're trying to separate to make our voice smaller, to make our pull, our demand smaller. So it would be very bad for us, detrimental for the fighters to separate it all. So we need to stay strong. We need to be smart about it. We need to hire smart people to work for us. We got to hire smart lawyers and intelligent people who can help guide us in the formation of this Fighters Association or Fighters Union.
Are you confident that in your active career span that this will happen, that you will be a part of something like this?
I started looking up some of the history of the Tennis Association, how many years it took them to form. I think they were founded in 1940, something if I remember correctly. I started looking up even the English Premier League, how they formed their association when they came together. And it seemed to take quite a while. It's quite a lengthy process to really form. And then a lot of those organizations, like the Tennis Association, they were actually formed in association with the actual governing World Tennis Tour or whatever it's called. I forget what the acronym is for it. But they were formed in association with them. So they even had the support of the main governing body, and it still took a while for them to form their tennis association. It'll seem to take a while. It's already been, I know a lot of guys have already been working on it for a couple of years now, but I'm not sure. I still I'm looking to retire in not too long, so I'm not sure if it'll get done in my fighting time period, but definitely if not while I'm fighting, I would say probably a couple of years after that.
You still there, Benson? Did I lose you, Benson?
You got me, Ariel?
Okay, yeah. I thought you cut out there for a second.
No, sorry.
And this is fascinating stuff. I feel like I could talk to you about this stuff forever, but I'm just curious. You saw what happened to Cyborg Santos with his skull getting fractured. Does that give you any pause?
Yeah.
Does that make you rethink the sport, your place in the sport, your future, your health? How do you internalize that?
I would say to that, you see the Olympics, the guy on the vault or the beam and his leg shattered.
Yep.
There's always horrific bad accidents in any sport. Whether if you're an equestrian, dear Lord, some of the accidents they have because they're dealing with horses and stuff. So you're going to have horrible, sad accidents. No matter what sport you do. For MMA, that was a pretty bad one. Your face, your skull, your forehead being broken like that. Yeah, that looks nasty. But it's a part of sport. If you ride horses, you gotta be aware. And horse, you walk the wrong way, not paying attention. The horse just kicks back. There was just an accident just recently with a horse breaking, some dude's ribs and it being life-threatening, so to speak. So there's always risk and dangers no matter what sport you do. Playing softball and then you take a fast pitch to the face, that's pretty scary stuff too. I've seen plenty of oracles broken in softball and baseball. So it's a part of sport. It's one of those things you have to realize, you have to accept, and you have to go forward with.
Last question for you, Benson. And again, thank you very much for the time and the candor and the patience. As always, you were in Mackenzie Dern's corner for her debut. What do you think her ceiling is, and how long, realistically, because she's talking about UFC in 2017, how long before she can compete with the best in the UFC, in your opinion, as someone who helps train her and corner her?
I would say, first of all, Mackenzie Dern, if you have not heard of it yet, let me be the first one to tell you, she will be bigger than Ronda Rousey before Ronda Rousey before she lost.
Wow.
She's going to be huge. She's going to be big. She has a excellent work ethic. She's in case somebody listening does not know, go look her up. She is a multiple-time jiu-jitsu world champion. She's won the ADCC. She's won Abu Dhabi. She's won Worlds. She's the current number one ranked female jiu-jitsu practitioner on the planet. So she has amazing work ethic. She's an amazing athlete. She definitely needs to work on her MMA skills. Her ground game is phenomenal. Any woman on the planet goes to the ground with Mackenzie, and Mackenzie's going to tap her, or just dominate her like she did her first opponent. Her jiu-jitsu is so good fundamentally that it transitions well into jiu-jitsu. It's not like some of the jiu-jitsu people who try to transition over to MMA. It's all about flash and fancy leg locks and this and that, and then you end up getting punched in the face. And you had more than a good handful of guys trying to segue over into MMA, but their jiu-jitsu game is so particular that they don't really transition very well into MMA. They don't really have the sort of success that they had in jiu-jitsu. They don't have that success in MMA because the fundamentals aren't very strong. Mackenzie's game is great for MMA because her fundamentals are so strong. Because the fundamentals are so strong, allows her to do some fancier stuff on the ground, and then because her fundamentals are so strong, it allows her to do well in MMA also. I think her working her butt off, staying grounded in the MMA world, getting better, growing. She's super young. She's going to be a big, huge star. You're going to see her in 10 years. You'll see her in movies and stuff, and she's going to do great. She's going to be awesome.
Wow.
She happens to be my son's godmother. She's going to be amazing. She's my wife's best friends. Good training partner. She's trained with us ever since she first started thinking about training MMA. She's trained at my gym, and she's in the world's gonna be her oyster. Wow.
Glowing. I don't think you could beat that kind of praise from Benson Henderson.
It's going to be hard to. The problem is living up to it.
Yeah,
that
is true.
You get punched in the face, you get kicked, you get sad, you try and you get a triangle choke, and you get knee to the ribs, like lifting it up is going to be hard. But I think she has all the tools, she has all the skills to do just that. But when you do have that much praise, it is that much tougher to have that success. So it's almost a gift and a curse. It's almost a good thing, bad thing, kind of a thing. She has a ton of, me personally, I think she can do great. But man, it's going to be hard for her to live up to it.
Well, she is very lucky that she has both you and John Crouch, two of the best, in her corner, and it was fun to watch her debut. I'm looking forward to seeing if she lives up to all of that promise in the next few years. For now, thank you so much, Benson. Really appreciate the time. Best of luck to you August 26th in Anaheim, California, the Pond, site of so many great MMA fights. This time, it will be the venue for Benson Henderson versus Patricio Pitbull. A very, very interesting card for Bellator, by the way. Some other names, Bubba Jenkins, who will be joining us later, AJ McKee on that card. How about Kimbo Slice Jr. also on that card? So thank you very much, Benson. Appreciate it, and best of luck to you.
Thank you very much, man. You guys tune in. Free on Spike TV. God bless, brother.
All right, there he is. Benson Smooth Henderson stopping by. Great stuff from him. Actually, we will be talking to one Bubba Jenkins in around 20 or so minutes about his fight on that card. He has a lot to discuss as well.